Introductions for our facilitators today. Just like I said, my name is Jana Netterfield. I'm a Community Health Program Coordinator here at Allina Health, and I'm going to be one of the facilitators for today's session on mindful eating. This is our fourth session in our series on mindfulness this summer, and I know we did send out a reminder email to everyone to grab a snack or lunch or just something to munch on, but please wait, don't start eating quite yet. I know it's lunchtime, so everybody's hungry, but give us about 5 minutes and we'll let you eat. I have been with Allina for about 10 years and have been a mindfulness practitioner for less than that. If you attended previous sessions, you probably know that I shared a little bit about myself, and I used to be a huge skeptic when it came to mindfulness practices until I realized how important they are and that they cannot take a place of really anything else in my life. I do need the mind and body connection, and once I realized that, I started implementing a lot of different practices into my daily life, and mindful eating was one of them. Everybody has a journey when it comes to food, and everybody sees food differently. So today we're going to address some of the food philosophies. We're going to talk a little bit about the societal view on food, and just give you some really hands-on tips on how to be a mindful eater and what mindful eating is all about. So I have a wonderful co-facilitator today, and her name is Stacy, and I will go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, thanks, Jana. Yep, my name is Stacy Bestinen, and I've worked at Allina Health for about 20 years, and I teach a variety of different classes around pain management and mindfulness training. And just like Jana, I really see the importance of just being in your space and being mindful of whatever you're doing. And so today I'll be taking you through the mindfulness eating experiential work, and then we'll go from there. And welcome, everybody.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Stacy. So again, I want to welcome everybody. If you just joined, that's totally okay. My name is Jana, and Stacy is my co-facilitator, and you are in the mindful eating session. So if you didn't plan to be here, that's probably accidental, and you might want to stick around because it's going to be a lot of fun. Today is going to be a very interesting session. We're going to take 45 minutes and run through some of the information together. Most importantly, experiential activity is going to be very important for you to focus on today. Out of everything that we talk about, that's probably going to be one thing that I encourage you to keep your attention on and stay with. I would like to preface today's session by saying that everybody has, just like I said, different food philosophies and also different experience with food. Some traumatic experiences, some pleasurable experiences, some just indifferent experiences, but I would encourage you to just keep an open mind and receive this information and receive the experience today with just a beginner's mind. Imagine like you've never heard anything about mindful eating before, and start yourself with a blank slate. So just like I said, today we have some objectives to cover. We're going to talk about mindful eating, describe the benefits of it. We're going to talk about barriers, psychological, physiological hunger, and the difference between those two. Mindful eating technique is something we're going to cover today and practice together. And also, a very important component of today's session, and we're going to maybe run through some of the content fairly quickly so we can get to strategies introducing consistency in your mindful eating to our daily practice. That can be a very challenging task, especially now with a lot of us working from home and the refrigerator literally being 2 feet away. A lot of you probably know what I'm talking about. So to get us started today, we have this really awesome educational video that I would encourage you to stick around to watch. And after that, we're going to go right into our experiential activity.
The government tells us we need to offer healthy choices in school lunches. But what is healthy, really? Is it this, or is it this? The answer may surprise you. Welcome to the Pizza Farm, where we are hard at work growing the ripe, juicy pizzas your kids love. What could be healthier than this? Acres of pizza kissed by the sun, stretching as far as the eye can see. fresh pepperoni straight from Mother Earth. We also have orchards of taquito trees soaking up the minerals and vitamins from the sun before we pick them and deliver them straight to those school lunch trays.
Can I have one?
You sure you don't want an apple?
Ew, no way.
Here you go. You see, kids know what their bodies need.
My teeth feel soft.
Go away. These fields produce hot, moist, sloppy joes all year round. Yeah. Thanks to the nutrients in the cola we use to water them. Oh, like mother's milk. We all want our kids to eat healthy, all-natural food. So stop pushing gross fruits and vegetables on them and let them dig into a fresh-picked bushel of hot, flaky fish fingers.
Yeah, they keep falling off. We can't get these to stick on the branches. So, I'm sorry.
Listen, if it's on a plant, it's good for you. Who cares how it got there? French fries are practically salads, which is why I like mine with ranch.
All right, well, I hope you all enjoyed this. That was very educational, and hopefully this is not the way we're gonna live our lives. And today's session is gonna be all about finding balance. So I'm gonna turn it over to Stacy, and she's gonna take us through experiential mindful eating activity to get us started.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what I want you to do is take out your food and place it right in front of you. And yep, so if it's in a package, go ahead and remove it. If you need a fork or a utensil, feel free to put that right by it. And what I want you to do now is just pause and just take this moment and just look at your food. Take a few deep breaths. Breathe in, filling your belly and your lungs full of oxygen. And exhale. And before we take a bite or before we start, and as we're pausing, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, do you really see the food in front of you? Or are you on autopilot? Are you preoccupied with other thoughts while you're getting ready to eat it? Most of the time, we barely look at the food we are eating. We just grab it and take a bite, chew it quickly and swallow and repeat until the food is gone or we're full. So now look at that food as though it's the first time you've ever seen the food. Give it your undivided attention. Take that deep breath in and out a few times as you settle your mind and come in touch with how you really feel about this food. Notice its shape, color, anything that your eyes notice. And just take a moment to observe it as a scientist would. Maybe smell it. What does that elicit as you're smelling it? Touch your food and just study it. You may begin to realize it's more than just food. It's something complex. It's part of a greater whole. Maybe as you're smelling it, use some descriptive words. Does the smell remind you of anything? What emotion does it bring forward? Notice if you're really hungry. If your first instinct is just to take a bite and start eating. So now what I want you to do is, if you have a utensil, just notice yourself grabbing the utensil, or if you notice, or if it's finger food, just go ahead and take the moment to either grab the fork or the utensil or grab the food, and I want you to take your first bite and roll it around in your mouth. Just notice how your taste buds come alive in response to putting the food in your mouth. What does it feel like and what does it taste like? You can start chewing it, and then know that as you're chewing your food, you're thinking about the food. No worries, no future planning. You're just focused on that food. And chew it as long as possible. And just immerse yourself in the experience as fully as possible. And by chewing consciously, you can really appreciate the food as it is. And in doing so, you can become fully aware of the present moment. Being in this moment, you can really receive what this food has to offer you. And you become more alive. And when you continue to eat this food, simply concentrate on eating. No need to think of anything else. Being focused and slowing down will allow you to truly savor all the qualities it has to offer. Perhaps its sweetness or tartness, its aroma, freshness, juiciness, dryness, and also the sound when you eat it, the crunching and chewing. Now, even as the act of swallowing can be an opportunity for mindfulness. Notice that the food is now in your body and no longer outside it. And just notice how this feels. By truly savoring this food, you have a taste of mindfulness, the state of awareness that comes from being fully immersed in the present moment. So eating in this way creates a new awareness of the food, of your world, and of your own. So you'll be able to have a greater insight and a greater feeling of appreciation and gratitude for the food as you eat it and your connection to nature and to others. So you can practice and continue to practice mindful eating at any meal, snack, with others or by yourself. So even if you don't have time to eat this meal for 20 minutes, mindfully, maybe the first 3 bites. As we continue. So as we continue this process of eating and your next bite and so forth, even as you take your drink, just notice that, do the same process. And as we move along with this presentation, feel free to continue to eat. Try to eat as mindfully as you can as we're talking, and enjoy.
So I'm just wondering, what did this practice bring out for you? Was it different than the way you normally eat? Did you notice anything? Feel free to use our chat function to let us know what your thoughts are. Anything that is different from normal? Or do you eat like this all the time? And what did you notice as maybe your emotional reaction to this way of eating? Were you frustrated? Were you enjoying your food more or less? And is this something you envision yourself doing moving forward? So again, please feel free to share. We do have a chat function available, so let us know your thoughts. And probably the most important component of conversation about mindful eating is really understanding what mindfulness is. So really what mindfulness is all about is bringing your awareness to the present moment, not distracting yourself with other things that may be around you or you're surrounded by. And you need to acknowledge and accept your thoughts, feelings, any kind of sensations in your body to be really truly present in the moment. So what that means with that mindful eating practice that Stacy took us through, you really have to be present with your food in order for you to be able to eat it mindfully. Just like really anything else we do, the concept of mindfulness is applicable to any other activity in your daily life, including brushing your teeth or making your bed or putting your makeup on or tying your shoes. Pretty much anything can be, and in many cases should be, a mindful activity. So the question stands, what did you have for dinner last night? Rhetorical question. And were you focusing and present with your food, or were you distracted by TV, by driving, maybe kids running around, maybe you're eating at the table but not sitting down at all? So I'm just curious, do we have any responses in the chat to a previous question around mindful practice?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting more flavor, more texture, not even realizing how good food tastes until this moment, just realizing how fast people really do eat And so a lot of good mindful moments in there and realizations.
All right, wonderful. Well, definitely hang on to that. Hang on to those thoughts and stay with them until the end of the presentation today. So, what is mindful eating?
So, so mindful eating is just what we just did. So it's just allowing yourself to become aware of the positive and nurturing opportunities that are available through what you're eating, through what you're selecting, why you're selecting what you're selecting, and really kind of tapping into your own inner wisdom. And so it can be really, really empowering. So kind of exciting. So using all your senses and choosing to eat food that's both satisfying and nourishing to your body. So like Jana had mentioned before, it's really kind of, there's no good or bad foods. It's how you relate to the food, and then also how the food makes you feel. So maybe there's some realization in there that, oh my gosh, I don't feel good after I eat this food. And then that empowering comes from that choice. Well, I don't have to eat it anymore because I don't feel good after I eat it. So really bringing in all your senses in choosing what foods you eat. You know, the first time I did this this activity, mindful eating activity, I brought in chocolate and realized for the first time that I really don't like the taste of chocolate. So it was a kind of an aha moment how fast I would eat it without really even tasting it. So always good things that can come out. And then also acknowledging those responses to foods without judgment. So do I judge myself for not liking chocolate? I wish I did. So, but no judgment. So likes, dislikes, you can be neutral and just really appreciate that about that inner wisdom. And then you're becoming aware of that physical hunger and satiety cues to guide your decisions, to begin to eat and when to end to eat. And so kind of just noticing those cues that you have. And our taste buds are so very powerful. So maybe that first bite is really, really flavorful. And maybe by the 7th, it doesn't taste as good as it did when you first started eating. So what are those cues of your body saying, I've had enough of this nutrient? It's actually really exciting. And so as we go through, like, are you truly hungry? That's the biggest question. And when we started the mindful eating experiential exercise, that's the first question I asked, like, are you truly hungry?
Right, and that question is probably the most important question that we choose not to ask ourselves, because a lot of us eat for different reasons. We'll cover it in just a few minutes, but there is reasoning that is outside of your physiological hunger. So how do we define physiological hunger? What does it really mean to be hungry? Without going too much into anatomy and physiology, but basically your physical hunger, it's kind of it comes on. It doesn't just happen. You don't just realize, well, I am hungry. Slowly but surely, probably within the last couple of hours, you felt like, oh, I'm getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, and now I'm hangry, right? So usually with the physiological hunger, you desire variety. You don't desire anything in particular. You kind of just want to eat whatever it is that is available. And you normally would be satisfied by the cues of fullness. So once you had enough, you can stop. And you eat out of necessity, and it's very intentional. And it's kind of this patient eating where you don't need to kind of run through your food and just grab onto your food and eat as much as you can as quickly as possible. So your physiological hunger is what we call the hunger of energy. So when you need energy and energy for survival, that is what you do. You eat in order to gain that energy. And, you know, in the past, probably a couple of centuries ago, this is how majority of the people actually ate. They ate in order to, you know, have energy. And societal view on food changed with years. The more food we have available, just the sheer quantity of food, not just even the quality, but quantity and how much of it we can have access to, really led us to a different societal view on food. But before we cover that, let's take a look at what the psychological hunger is all about. So it's that emotional hunger. It's that hunger that we say is kind of in your head. So it's usually sudden or abrupt. You kind of like, well, I'm hungry. Give me some food. Especially sometimes when, imagine yourself eating dinner and then showing up at the party where there's plenty of food, but you already ate. So physiologically, you know, physical hunger is no longer present, but you see all this delicious food.
Is your Leo dry?
Can you please mute yourself? Thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody. Thank you. Wonderful. So just like I was saying, it's usually a very abrupt hunger. You show up at that party and you see this variety of food, all these platters with cheese and crackers, and you're like, oh, I'm hungry. You're not. You know you're not, but your mind is, right? So it's very different kind of hunger, and you desire very specific foods. So the prime example, it works with adults and it also works with kids. I do it with my 4-year-old all the time, as well as my 16-year-old, and I do it with myself occasionally. When I or my 16-year-old comes up to me and goes, Mom, I just want some Doritos. Those chips look so good. I'm so hungry. I look at her and go, would you like an apple? No. All right, then you are not hungry. So that specificity of hunger is what should tell you that this hunger really has nothing to do with the physiological or physical hunger that your body experiences when it needs energy. So you're not satisfied usually. You have your, how many of you, it's a rhetorical question, please don't answer it in the chat function, but how many of you ever bag of chips, right, watching Grey's Anatomy in front of a TV and just had one serving? 7 chips, that's all you consumed. Maybe some of you have, but majority of us would say by the time that Grey's Anatomy episode is over, that bag of chips is gone, right? So you just kind of continue eating. You don't stop. That emotional hunger that, oh, I'm watching TV, that's what I always do. I eat my chips and eat my salsa when I watch my whatever TV show at night. And you continue munching and munching and munching socially at the parties. You just continue eating. Whether you're full or not, it doesn't really matter at that point. You just want to eat. And that majority of the time you feel guilty. You look at that bag of Doritos, Tostitos, whatever you were munching on during that episode of Grey's Anatomy, and you go, man, how did it disappear? I don't even know what happened. And you feel horrible because you know exactly how many calories you consume. You just flip that bag and look at it, and sometimes you don't because you don't want to know. And then you realize, man, what have I done, right? It's almost always impulsive. It's one of those things that you sort of like, I want it, I need it, give it to me now. And by the time you're done eating it, you're kind of done thinking about it. And that's when you wake up and go, what did I just do? If that ever happens to you, you probably have been a very mindless eater at times, and that is totally okay. I do not know any one person that have not done that in their lifetime. And Stacy and I are prime examples of doing it on occasion as well. So we're all in the same boat. So what I wanted to tell you, it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach and the physicality of your body to connect with your mind. So it takes about 15 to 20 minutes since you consume the food for your brain to actually receive the signal from your stomach saying, hey, I'm full. I don't need any more food. That said, how many of us actually take 20 minutes to eat any one of our meals? Maybe sometimes at dinner, if we're lucky, right? But majority of the time, it's run, 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 go, 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 quick breakfast. Most of the time in the car, sometimes running the kids to athletic activities. Lunchtime, in front of a computer, you gulp down whatever you're eating as fast as you can, and you probably eat seconds or maybe thirds of something. And that is where a huge issue lies. You don't give yourself, your body enough time to actually connect that mind and body and realize that you don't need any more food. That is why that mindful eating exercise we went through in the very beginning with Stacy, it was very mindful in terms of eating one bite at a time, very, very slowly. And we do realize you're not going to be able to do it every meal and all the time, but this is one of the things things that you can remind yourself every time you eat: slow down. Just slow down, take a break. Some really good tips is you can slow down by taking sips of water in between your bites, and also putting your fork down and walking away for about 5 minutes. Go to the bathroom. If you're working from home, go switch a load of laundry or whatever else you're doing before coming back to that food. And then you can focus on it again and reassess and kind of ask yourself, am I still hungry? Do I need any more food, or can I walk away now? That is really important to do with wonderful chocolate cake that majority of us like so much. Not Stacy, because she doesn't like chocolate, as we all found out today. You know, a lot of times we start with this one slice and we just can't stop. And this is one of the things you can do. You can take a couple, 3 bites, and you might notice, if you eat mindfully, that you really don't need any more. It was tasty and it was wonderful and it was very delicious, and you can walk away now. So what about cravings? Cravings are actually very real. They are not, they're not something that is made up or somebody came up with and now we use that word all the time. Cravings are physiological. Our body needs certain nutrients and minerals, and a lot of times we would crave things that perhaps we deem unhealthy or consider bad food, which we will talk about. We would like for you not to use that word. It's more of a don't differentiate foods are as good or bad. It's just food, right? It's just right in front of you. So a lot of times we crave things that are not the greatest for us health-wise. Here's the common truth about cravings. Your body will only crave what your body knows. So for instance, you want chocolate so bad. You're craving this chocolate and you just have to have it. You might just want chocolate. It might be an emotional kind of hunger, but it can also be a physiological, physical hunger where you just need magnesium. And good dark chocolate is full of great magnesium in small doses. So your body knows chocolate, so your body craves it. What if you consistently introduced your body to something new, a different food that has plenty of magnesium in it? What if you ate kale or spinach on a more regular basis? Your body will start craving things that your body knows, that your body have been exposed to. So the purpose of today's conversation is really to tell you to expose your body to as many well-balanced nutritious options as possible, so your body can make those really informed choices about what it might need or want. So you versus food, it really does not have to be this way. This is not a diet approach to eating at all. We don't encourage you to think of it as another diet that you go on and go off of. Really, mindful eating is a lifestyle change. It's a modification that takes time, and you know, it gets better and gets worse at times, so be prepared for that. But it's really not something that is just for a period of time. It is a lifestyle change. Societally, just like I said, we've used to view food as a source of energy, and right now, majority of the time, we view our food as a source of pleasure. Societally, especially in our society here in our American reality, a lot of the foods that you see marketed on TV or social media are going to claim to bring you joy and happiness and going to make you feel a certain way. And that is where we seek that pleasure. So neither one, despite the common belief, neither one point of view is actually great. A lot of times people would say, well, just eat for energy. This is what this is all about. And that's not necessarily true. Where mindful eating comes to play is where we try to find balance between eating food because it is good for our body and it energizes us, full of nutrients and minerals and quality, with that enjoying it as well. So different food philosophies. We all grew up with different ways of eating. Clean your plate, you should be eating this or that, this is not good for you, or only this is good for you. So you all know kind of where you come from when it comes to your food consumption. We grew up with certain things, maybe meat and potato family, or maybe you grew up vegan. So you have all sorts of different philosophies on how and what food you should be consuming. So the biggest question to ask yourself when it comes to mindful eating is really not what you eat. We focus on that quite a bit. You know, a lot of the messaging on social media and online is around this food is bad for you and this food is good for you. And there is some truth to that in terms of nutritional value and how this food will make your body feel and what it might do to your body physically. However, the biggest question is, why do you eat? Do you eat because you're hungry? Do you eat because you're sad? Do you eat because you are lonely? Do you eat because it's socially unacceptable not to? And really, is there such thing as positive relationship with food? So we just want to remind you that as much as we want to build a positive connection with food, relationship is something that only two really living substances or subjects can have. You know, you can have a relationship with your pet, you can have a relationship with your loved one who's a human. They can love you back, they can hug you back, they can give you that sense of fulfillment and comfort, and the food is really just a substance. So regardless of your food philosophy, you can have the positive connection with it, but not necessarily call it a relationship. And that emotional eating a lot of times stems to really not loving certain food. Really, it's examining where that emotion comes from. So emotional eating is actually a very good definition of what happens to our body. For me, it used to be, for the longest time, you know, those chocolate chip cookies that are gooey and chewy and yummy and delicious. And what they reminded me of really had nothing to do with how much I love chocolate or how much I loved cookies. I actually discovered since that I really don't care for cookies all that much. But what I cared for is my grandma, who made cookies, and they were available, and I would hide under the table in the kitchen and sneak as many of them as I could. And it just made me feel so close to her. And on her good days, when she wasn't sick or feeling sad, she would tell me great stories, and we would eat cookies together. So that is the connection a lot of times that we are looking for, not connecting to the food itself. So examine that emotion within yourself and sort of think of what does that mean to you. So now we come to some barriers to mindful eating, and Stacey's going to talk us through some of those as well.
Yeah, and even through the chat when we asked, a lot of people had mentioned that, oh, you know, I'm not eating mindfully because I have so many distractions or things going on, or I'm so busy that I have to hurry, and those are definitely barriers to mindful eating. And so as much as you can, really even bring that first bite or those first 3 bites into that mindfulness awareness, just to take that moment. And mindfulness eating is hard. It's really hard. So it takes a lot of practice and kind of continually reminding yourself that, okay, now I'm going to just eat this bite or at least 3 bites, and just notice what's going on. So oftentimes we eat on the go, and you know, let's go. Our schedules are so busy. We need to go. We do have that mentality of, you know, keep going. That's just kind of in our society. Our schedules tend to be so busy. How many of you will grab your lunch and eat while you're still working? So right at your laptop, and just eat and work at the same time. And that can really eventually have those, you know, be that mindfulness distraction. So instead of focusing on your food, you don't even realize your food is gone until you notice, like, oh, where did my food go? I know even if I give my boys a bowl of popcorn and they're watching a movie, all of a sudden they'll say, hey, who ate my popcorn? And they did, but they were so distracted that they didn't even realize they were eating it. And that happens to us all. And then, like Jana was talking about cravings, if you've ever been watching TV and all of a sudden a ice cream commercial came on, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the kitchen in the freezer doling up a bowl of ice cream, that can definitely show up right there. And all of a sudden you're eating ice cream because of a commercial. We also eat because we're bored and there's nothing else to do. Might as well just eat because it's something. So a lot of barriers. So what are your barriers to mindful eating? Just feel free to put that in the chat.
Yeah, a little bit of chat time here, so let us know.
Yeah, so a lot of different barriers and as it relates to mindful eating, but the ultimate goal is to take some time at your next meal. And so as you can see, that this is a really good analogy, this halt. It's, you know, why are we eating? why are we sitting down to a meal or to a snack? And Jean already mentioned a few of these. And so if you're not sure, try asking yourself, are you hungry? So we eat because we're hungry, and that's always a very good thing. We eat because we're angry, and really fill in the box for that emotion. We eat because we're happy, sad, mad, excited, we're celebrating, any emotion. As humans, we eat. We eat because we're lonely. It feels that void of having somebody else in our life. We eat because we're tired. There's a lot of hormones that are related to eating, and when we get enough sleep and when we don't. Our appetite, our hormone that controls our appetite is replenished when we sleep. So when we're tired, we tend to eat more. Like your brain will say, I need more energy. And if you're not going to go to sleep because it's 10:30 at night, you're going to have to give me some energy. And so you're more likely to go for the junk food because your brain wants that quick energy. So if it's nighttime and you're tired, go to bed instead of eating. Sometimes people need maybe a healthy snack before they go to bed, so because their hunger will keep them up if they are truly hungry. So just kind of knowing that about yourself. And we also eat because we're thirsty or dehydrated. So there have been times where I'm like, I'm hungry, so I eat. I'm hungry, so I eat. I'm hungry. And then it dawns on me, oh my gosh, I'm so dehydrated. So then I'll drink a big glass of water and I'm so full. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I just eat? Or why didn't I just drink something first and then see how I felt? So all of those things are that halt. So think of that halt when you're ready to eat. So there's a lot of different mindfulness practices, and we talked about a few, but awareness is key. So just be aware of why you're eating, and awareness of the food you're eating and how it makes you feel within 20 minutes after. Do you get a headache from it? Do you have joint pain? All of those things are good awareness. Observing your food, observing why you're eating, when you're eating, how you're eating, being in the moment when you can, being mindful of your environment. And I see a lot of people just chatting it up on in the chat box that says, oh yeah, when I watch TV or when I'm having a conversation with someone, depending on that conversation, just so many different things around your environment. A lot of people will light a candle and put some soft music on. There's a reason why fast food restaurants are painted red, and red tends to make you want to eat fast and eat more. Also, another mindful eating practice is that non-judgment that we talked about earlier. I could feel bad that I don't like chocolate because everybody likes chocolate, but just not to judge myself, letting go of things, and then just acceptance of just working where you're at, and just you're learning every day.
Right. Stacey, don't feel bad about chocolate. I don't like milk chocolate. I only like dark chocolate. So
all right, thank you.
I'm kind of halfway through here. So some habits of a mindful eater. And before I start with those, do we have anything in our chat around barriers?
Yeah, so definitely. We're getting people saying that they're thirsty, or they drink too much or not enough while they're eating. Late night eating, if they're a night owl, especially for that junky food. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of the same things. Eating fast.
For sure.
Yeah, not enough time. Yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you for sharing. This is definitely a challenge for everybody. You don't become a mindful eater and stay mindful eater 100% of the time and never have to address some of the barriers and challenges. It comes up all the time, even for those of us who maybe been on this path for a while. It still can be a very serious challenge in many ways. So some habits of a mindful eater: you can be flexible about eating. It's not, I have to eat during this time and I can only eat these things. You're very much aware of the nutritional needs. So before you think about the pleasure component, you also think about nutritional components. So is that food going to make me feel better? Emotionally and physically? Is it going to bring value to my body, or is it going to just take me away from my goals? In touch with your body. You just, mindful eaters really kind of watch the hunger cues and eat when they're hungry without being afraid of food. but also mind the hunger component, and don't eat when they're not hungry. You eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, non-judgmental about self and others. So this is really tough. It's tough for probably you, and it's tough for everybody and anybody that I know. Not judging yourself for what you eat and how you eat is very difficult at times. So we would just encourage you to provide some space for grace, like grace space, we call it. Just allow yourself to eat and not beat yourself up over it, whatever that is. And if you start just there, all the other things will start kind of coming and falling into place for you too. You focus on impact of food on your health more than anything. So before eating those meals from fast food 3 times a day, you think about, is it gonna help my cholesterol? Is it gonna help my blood pressure? What is it gonna really do to me? Enjoy food. Don't be bogged down by guilt. There's nothing wrong with eating occasional chocolate cake or cookies or whatever else, that ice cream or whatever floats your boat, right? But it's not about just taking yourself away from certain foods because they're bad for you. It's just being aware of what they are and having them sometimes, not every day. Can eat mindlessly occasionally, just like I said. We're not immune, and it's okay sometimes to let it go and just graze a little bit if that's where your body is at. It's not often, it's very occasional, but it's okay to do that as well. And you recover quickly from incidents. If something happens and you feel tremendous guilt, you can just restart and say, okay, well, I can start over. So you eat every 3 to 4 hours. That is super important. You don't ever let yourself go any longer than 4 hours. You got to eat something. It doesn't have to be a gigantic meal, but some food. And you eat before you get too hungry. So hangry, not a good thing at all. Once you're there, it's kind of too late. You should have eaten before that. So that kind of a timeline, 3 to 4 hours, will really keep you on track as far as, okay, so I got to eat something, a banana, an apple, whatever that is. Doesn't have to be a gigantic meal, just like I said. So listen to your body, and most importantly, stop when you're full. Really, don't just keep eating, even though this is enough. And take at least 20 minutes, I talked about it already, to consume a meal. Not every meal is going to happen that way. But if you can do 1 a week to start with, that would be wonderful. Dinner with the family is a great opportunity for that. Then if you can move on to maybe 1 a day at some point, that would be wonderful as well. So whatever works for you. And limit distractions while eating, TV, computer, driving, or sitting at the table. And how do you become a mindful eater? Those are probably the most important points outside of our practice today. Avoid classifying foods as good or bad. That's probably the first thing that we do when you look at food, is we try to put a label on it. Many of them already have labels with nutritional information. So double labeling sometimes is not a good thing. So think of it as it's just food. What is the nutritional value? Do I really want it? And when can I have it? And what would that look like? Consider how the food you choose to eat will affect your body. That is always really the first question. Is it going to help your goals? Is it going to help where you're at in life? Or is it not going to? And based on that, you make your choice and make your decision. And understand what your body needs. Your body is a complex mechanism, and it does need those macronutrients, those proteins, fats, or carbohydrates, but it also does need those micronutrients, those minerals and phytoelements. It really is in need of real substantial, good quality food. And really avoid being diet-minded. Try not to stick to the diet. Try to think of it as, what would I want my life to be like in 5 years when it comes to food, when it comes to what I want for my body and my performance too. Do I want to be able to walk, run, play with my grandkids? What do I want to do? So the question is, what will be your biggest challenge in becoming mindful eater? And it's chat time. Please share with us, where are you with that? What do you think is going to be your biggest concern? Feel free to share. And as you put those thoughts in the chat, if you are comfortable with doing so, just remember, the most important part about mindful eating is not learning how to eat mindfully. It's probably, arguably, learning how to practice self-compassion. Mindless eating comes out of the constant cycle of guilt and shame. So, you feel sorry for yourself because something bad happened at work, and Friday night you just eat the entire pizza, large or extra large, right? You eat this entire pizza while watching TV or doing whatever else you're doing, and then you feel extremely guilty. And then you shame yourself and blame yourself for how bad of a person, how you are, and how you don't have the willpower, and so on and so forth. And then you repeat that cycle all over again because of how you feel about yourself. So self-compassion is where it all starts. Look at yourself and say, hey, you know what? I'm worthy. I deserve better. I can love myself. And yes, I had this pizza and it's okay. I can do better tonight, or I can do better tomorrow, or this will all be okay. And start there. Strive for progress, not perfection. We will never be perfect, none of us. Some of us want to believe that they do, that we will, but we won't. Progress is what it's all about. If you eat fast food every day, 3 meals every day, that's okay. No judgment. If you want to do something different, if you're ready for it, start with maybe replacing one of the meals every day with something that you make at home, or something that you feel is a better nutritional value for your body, and start there. And a little bit by little bit, you'll get yourself to where you want to be. And really, mindfulness is a journey. It's not a destination. Please know that. We're not going to arrive one day at being a perfect mindful eater, has it all together and has it all figured out. It's really about how do you implement these things into your everyday life and just get better with it. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out just about our website and where to find some of these resources. Changetochill.org is where some of the scripts and some of the resources are located. Mindful Eating script is there if you do want to revisit that. And then please stay connected to us. Sign up for our newsletter. We're going to send you some notes and just occasional reminders about some of the mindfulness concepts. And then let us know what you think. We're going to be sending you a survey within 24 hours after today's presentation. And you can visit our website, changetochill.org, and also shoot us an email if you have any questions or concerns. So before we finish up, I kind of want to see, Stacy, do we have anything in chat as far as those barriers go?
Yeah, definitely. So we have, nighttime eating, emotionally eating, just being consistent. We also have a question on how do we hold ourselves accountable? And so, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big one. So journaling or talking to a friend,
Right.
There's just so many different ways to hold yourself accountable. What do you think, Jana?
So a lot of times with accountability, and I appreciate all the other comments on the barriers, and I want you to know, whoever wrote those, you guys are not alone. We've all been there, and some of us are still there, and we struggle with the exact same things. Accountability is tough. Self-accountability is very difficult. It's always good to find like-minded people. I'm a huge proponent of social connectedness when it comes to food and healthy eating, mindful eating. And I will warn you though, a lot of those connections will not come from your immediate surroundings. You will find in some cases you are so lonely in your family, even when it comes to nobody else. Everybody wants pizza all the time. Everybody wants chocolate cake for every meal, and you feel very isolated. So love those people for where they're at, and find other folks, maybe at work, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a connection on social media, where you can be having conversations about some of these barriers and challenges, and putting some structure into your day with somebody else. And then the second one that I wanted to mention is the structure itself. It's always good for accountability to have any kind of structure is good. So if you tell yourself, I'm going to eat every 3 hours, set a timer. Put it on your computer in the Outlook or whatever program you use. Do something that will allow you to have some sort of consistency with whatever habits you choose to follow first. And the third one that I would really encourage you actually not to do is don't try to do everything at once. So change 2 things at the same time, or let go of many, many different foods at the same time. Do one thing at a time, and that is the only thing you hold yourself accountable for. So I would say let go of everything else. If your goal for this week, if what you want to start with is, say, I I'm gonna pick on something. So let's do the chocolate cake since we talked about it today. So I eat chocolate cake every single night after dinner. I have 2 slices of chocolate cake. And you don't want to do that anymore. You feel like this is something that you really want to work on. That's a nighttime snacking. You don't need it. So start with one goal, whatever that is. Say, I want to eat just 1 slice of chocolate cake. And that's how you hold yourself accountable. Let go of everything else. It doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day. For today and for this week, you're going to just focus on that 1 piece of cake, right? And then the following week, you decide, okay, well, I'm only going to have that 1 slice of cake 3 times a week instead of every day. And this is how you progress. So accountability doesn't happen with the massive storm of change. That almost always fails. You really want to start with something small and build on it. That's a concept that we call self-efficacy, where you see success in one small thing and it translates into you feeling like you can do more, and then you can do more, and then you can do more. And at the end of it all, you arrive at where you want to be. And hopefully that helps. All right, so we're out of time. I'm actually gonna let everybody who would like to go. Thank you so much for being with us today. We really, really appreciate your time. And Stacy and I will stick around for a few minutes to answer questions and chat if you'd like to ask some questions as well. Thank you so much for being with us today.